Lee Dae-ho walked through the long corridors of the Galactic Council building. His black shoes made soft sounds on the smooth metal floor. The walls were covered with pictures of different alien species working together. It was supposed to show how peaceful the galaxy had become. Today, those pictures felt like lies. Park Ji-won walked beside him. She carried a small bag with all their important papers. Behind them came Kim Min-soo and Choi Hye-jin. They all wore their best uniforms, dark blue with silver buttons, the same uniforms humans had worn to council meetings for 300 years. "Do you think they really mean it?" Park Ji-won asked quietly. Lee Dae-ho did not answer right away. He had been Earth's main speaker to the council for 20 years. He had seen many arguments and fights. But this was different. This felt final. "Yes," he said at last. "They mean it." The council chamber was huge. It could hold representatives from all 12 main alien species plus hundreds of smaller groups. The ceiling was so high you could not see it clearly. Large windows showed the stars outside, those same stars that humans had traveled between for centuries. Today the chamber was full. Every seat was taken. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes sat waiting. Some had many arms. Some had no arms at all. Some breathed air like humans. Others wore special suits filled with their home planet's atmosphere. At the center sat the High Council, 12 beings from the oldest species in the galaxy. They had founded the council long before humans learned to fly between stars. Their platform was raised high above everyone else. Thex-9 of the Velkari stood up. The Velkari looked like tall, thin humans but with gray skin and large black eyes. Thex-9 had never liked humans much. Today there was something like joy in those black eyes. "The council has made its decision," Thex-9 said. The voice came through speakers in every language at once. "After careful thought, we have decided that humanity is not fit for council membership." The chamber was quiet. Even the constant humming of the air system seemed to stop. "Humans are too violent," Thex-9 continued. "Your species starts fights. You argue too much. You do not follow proper procedures. The council has voted. All 12 founding species agree. Humanity must leave council space." Lee Dae-ho felt his heart sink, but his face did not change. He had expected this. For months there had been whispers. Small problems had grown into big complaints. Every time humans tried to help solve a crisis, someone said they were being pushy. Every time they defended themselves, someone called them violent. Park Ji-won's hand tightened on her bag. Kim Min-soo stood perfectly still, like a statue. Choi Hye-jin looked down at her feet. Vex Prime of the Zephyrian Collective spoke. Next. The Zephyrians were like giant insects with beautiful wings. "You have 30 standard days to leave all council territories. All trade agreements will end. All research partnerships will stop. All human bases and stations must be abandoned." "What about the medical research?" Park Ji-won asked. "We are close to finding cures for diseases that affect millions of people." The Council will continue that work without human interference," said Krex Void of the Altarian Empire. The Altarians were beings made of living crystal. When they spoke, their bodies flashed different colors. "We managed just fine before humans arrived. We will manage again." Lee Dae-ho wanted to laugh, but he did not. The Altarians had been dying from a strange sickness when humans first met them. Human doctors had saved their entire species. Now they acted like it never happened. "And our colonies?" Kim Min-soo asked. "There are 50 million humans living on council worlds. They have homes, families, businesses. They can stay if they give up human citizenship and follow council law," Thex-9 said. "But no more humans may enter council space. Ever." Choi Hye-jin finally looked up. "The trade routes we maintain connect hundreds of worlds. If we stop running those ships, many planets will be cut off. Other species will take over those routes," said Zel-9 of the Cosmic Federation. The Cosmic Federation members looked like floating jellyfish made of light. "The galaxy does not need human merchants." That was when Lee Dae-ho knew for certain. They had not just decided to kick humans out. They had convinced themselves that humans were not needed at all. They thought the galaxy would work just fine without them. Maybe they were right. Maybe they were wrong. It did not matter now. "We understand," Lee Daeho said. His voice was calm and clear. "When do you want us to start leaving?" The alien representatives looked surprised. They had expected arguments. They had prepared long speeches about why this was necessary. Some had probably hoped for anger and threats that would prove humans really were violent. Instead, Lee Daeho just accepted it. "Immediately," Thex 9 said. "Your ships can begin leaving today." "Very well," Lee Daeho said. He looked around the chamber one last time. At the beings his people had worked with for 3 centuries. At the species they had helped and protected and traded with. At the aliens who had been friends and partners and sometimes enemies. None of them would look at him directly. Park Ji-won gathered her papers. Kim Min-soo straightened his uniform jacket. Choi Hee-jin closed her notebook. They all stood up together. "Is there anything else?" Lee Daeho asked. Vex Prime made a sound like clicking crystals. In Zephyrian body language, it meant dismissal, like shooing away a small animal. "Perhaps in a few thousand years, when your species has learned to be more civilized, we might think about letting you back in," Vex Prime said. "But do not count on it." Lee Daeho nodded politely. "We understand completely," he said. "Thank you for explaining everything so clearly." The 4 humans walked toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed in the quiet chamber. Every alien eye followed them, but no one spoke. At the tall doors, Lee Daeho stopped. He turned back to face the council one more time. "Goodbye," he said simply. The doors slid shut behind them with a soft hiss. The sound seemed to echo forever in the empty hallway. Outside, Park Ji-won finally spoke. "What do we do now?" Lee Daeho looked out through a large window at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond council space, was room for humanity to build something new. "Now we go home," he said, "and we tell our people what happened." "And then?" Lee Daeho smiled for the first time that day. It was not a happy smile, but it was not angry either. It was the smile of someone who had just been set free. "Then we leave. All of us. And we wish them luck." Dr. Song Ye-rim looked at her research notes one last time. 3 years of work sat in neat piles on her desk. Charts showing how different fungi could grow in alien soil. Pictures of plants that could feed hungry worlds. Test results that proved her theories were right. Her lab partner Zeph Cole floated nearby. The Altarian's crystal body flashed confused colors. Purple for sadness, yellow for fear, red for anger. "You cannot leave now," Zeph Cole said. "The food project is almost finished. We are so close to growing enough food for the entire sector." Song. Ye-rim smiled sadly. She had grown to love this strange crystal being over the years. They had worked together every day, shared ideas, solved problems, become real friends. "I know," she said. "But the council has made its choice. All humans must leave." "This is foolish." Zeph Cole's body flashed bright red. "Your research could save billions of lives. How can politics be more important than that?" Song Ye-rim packed her personal items into a small box. Pictures of her family back on Earth. Oh, coffee mug her daughter had made in school. A small plant from her home world that somehow grew well in the space station's air. "I cannot stay," she said quietly. "Even if I wanted to. Even if you ask the council to make an exception, they have decided that humans do not belong here." She pulled out a small crystal storage device. All her research was copied onto it. Every test, every failed experiment, every successful breakthrough. She held it out to Zeph Cole. "This has everything," she said. "All my notes, all the data. You can finish the project without me." Zeph Cole's crystal hands shook as they took the device. "But I do not understand the growing process like you do. You have an instinct for it, a feeling for when the fungi are ready. I cannot replace that." Song. Ye-rim packed the last of her things. "You are smarter than you think. You will figure it out." She looked around the lab one more time. She had been happy here. This had been good work, important work, but now it was over. "Take care of yourself, old friend," she said to Zeph Cole. "When will humans come back?" Zeph Cole asked. Song Ye-rim paused at the door. I do not think we will. All across council space, similar scenes played out. Human doctors finished their surgeries and then handed their patients over to alien colleagues. They left detailed notes about treatments and medicines. They explained how to use human medical equipment. Then they packed their bags and left. Captain Yoon Soo-bin met with his business partners on Centauri Station. The Centaurian merchants had worked with him for 15 years. They had built a successful trade company together. You cannot just leave, said Vrak Captain, the lead Centaurian. We have contracts, agreements. What about the cargo run to the Outer Rim next week? Yoon Soo-bin pulled out a data pad. I am transferring my 3 ships to the company. Full ownership. You can hire new captains. But you know the routes. Vrak Captain's tentacles writhed with worry. You know which systems are safe and which ones have pirates. You know how to negotiate with the station masters. I will leave you all my route information, Yoon Soo-bin said. Navigation data, contact lists, everything I have learned over the years. He stood up from the meeting table. Around them, Centauri Station buzzed with activity. Aliens of dozens, of species loaded and unloaded cargo ships. Traders argued over prices. Mechanics repaired engines. Life went on as it always had. But soon there would be no more human ships docking here. This is wrong, Vrak Captain said. Humans are good traders, honest, reliable. Why is the council doing this? Yoon Soo-bin shrugged. They think we cause too much trouble. You cause no trouble at all. You solve problems. Last month you helped us avoid that pirate ambush in the Delta sector. The month before you negotiated peace between the Rigel miners and the Transport Guild. Maybe that is the trouble, Yoon Soo-bin said quietly. On research stations and trading posts, in hospitals, and schools humans began their quiet exodus. They did not break anything. They did not steal anything. They left their workplaces clean and organized. They finished urgent projects or carefully handed them over to alien colleagues. Bae Jun-ho had been the chief engineer at Proxima Station for 8 years. The station's power systems were old and difficult. They needed constant attention and small adjustments to keep running smoothly. He knew every pipe and wire and circuit. His replacement, Crix 9 of the Veltar Engineering Corps, followed him through the maze of equipment. The main reactor runs hot, Bae Jun-ho explained. You need to adjust the cooling system every 6 hours. Not every 8 like the manual says, every 6. Why? Crix 9 asked. The pumps are older than the reactor. They do not move coolant as fast as they should. I've been asking for new pumps for 3 years. And the power distribution? Bae Jun-ho showed him a wall of switches and controls. These readings here will tell you when Grid 7 is getting overloaded. When that happens, you manually switch 30% of the load to Grid 4, but you have to do it slowly. If you switch too fast, Grid 4 will trip its safety system. Is this in the manual? No. I learned it by watching and fixing problems. I have been meaning to update the procedures, but there was always something more urgent to fix. Crix 9 looked worried. How much of the station's operation depends on this kind of informal knowledge? Bae Jun-ho was quiet for a moment. More than I realized until today. In the children's schools, human teachers said goodbye to young aliens who had grown to love them. On the research stations, human scientists handed over half-finished experiments. In the hospitals, human doctors transferred patients they had been treating for years. None of them complained. None of them argued. None of them said the council was wrong. They just left. News reporters tried to interview departing humans. They wanted dramatic statements, angry words about injustice, threats of revenge. Instead, they got polite goodbyes. We respect the council's decision, said Dr. Kim Hae-won as she left the Xenobiology Institute. We wish everyone the best. Do you think this is fair? The reporter asked. Fair or unfair, it is what the council has chosen, Dr. Kim replied. We will not cause trouble by arguing. Where will humans go now? Dr. Kim looked up at the stars. Somewhere we can build something new. Ship after ship left council space. Human families packed their belongings and moved to the outer edges of known space. Human businesses closed their doors and relocated beyond the galactic rim. The strange thing was how quiet it all was. No protests, no angry speeches, No dramatic departures. Humans just left. And they said goodbye as if they were going on a pleasant vacation, not being forced into exile. "Thank you for everything," they said. "Good luck with your projects. Take care of yourselves. We hope everything works out well for you." The aliens who worked with humans found this politeness somehow more disturbing than anger would have been. Anger they could understand. Arguments they could handle. But this calm acceptance felt wrong. Like, humans knew something the Council did not. Within 6 months, every human had left Council space. The galaxy suddenly felt much quieter. Zefkol stared at the fungal growth chambers. The plants that should have been green and healthy were turning brown. Dying. 3 months of work was failing, and he did not know why. He held Song Yerim's data crystal in his shaking hands. All her research was there. Every formula, every procedure, every measurement. But something was missing. The human had said to harvest the fungi when they felt ready. What did that mean? How could you feel when a plant was ready? Zefkol was a scientist. He used instruments and measurements and precise timing. But the instruments said the fungi should be perfect. The measurements matched all the requirements. The timing was exactly what the formula specified, yet they kept dying. The humans made this look easy, he said to himself. His crystal body flashed frustrated orange. On Proxima Station, Chief Engineer Crix 9 was having his own problems. The power systems were failing more often than they should. Not big failures that shut down the station. Small problems that made everything work worse. Grid 7 had overloaded again yesterday. Crix 9 had switched the power to Grid 4, just like Bei Junho had taught him. But he had done it too fast. Grid 4's safety system had tripped, and half the station had lost power for 6 hours. "The manual says to switch the load gradually over 15 minutes, he told his assistant. "But 15 minutes is too long when Grid 7 is already overloaded." The human said to do it slowly, but what does slowly mean? 10 minutes? 5 minutes? 2 minutes? His assistant, a young Veltar engineer named Nix3, checked the power readings. "Maybe we should install new equipment, better pumps, newer control systems. The parts will take 8 months to get here," Crix 9 said, "and the station needs to keep running until then." He looked at the maze of pipes and wires that Bei Junho had maintained so easily. The human had walked through these tunnels like he was strolling through a garden. Every sound and smell and vibration had told him something about how the machines were working. Crix 9 heard the same sounds, but they meant nothing to him. He was learning, but learning slowly. And every day the station's efficiency dropped a little more. Meanwhile, on Centauri Station, Vrak Captain was discovering problems with the trade routes. The cargo run to the outer rim had been a disaster. "Pirates hit us in the Theta Nebula," he told his business partners. "Took half our cargo and damaged the ship." "But that route is supposed to be safe," said Klex Trader, another Centaurian merchant. "Captain Yoon ran that route dozens of times with no problems." Vrak Captain pulled up the navigation data Yoon Subin had left them. "The route looks the same. Same systems, same hyperspace jumps, same fuel stops." Then what went wrong? Vrak Captain highlighted part of the star chart. "Look at the timing. Yoon always arrived at the Theta jump point at exactly 14:30 station time. We arrived at 09:15. So, the pirates knew Yoon's schedule. They avoided that area when his ship was coming through. But they did not know about us." Klex Trader's tentacles curled with worry. "You mean the route was safe because of when the human traveled, not where he traveled?" "That is part of it, but there is more." Vrak Captain pulled up communication logs. Yoon talked to people at every station, mechanics, dock workers, other traders. He always knew which systems had pirate activity, which stations had supply shortages, which trade officials could be trusted, and which ones demanded bribes. He left us his contact list. Names and communication codes, yes. But not relationships, not trust. When I called Station Master Plex 9 at Rigel Base, he was polite but distant. When Yoon called him, they talked like old friends. The Centaurians realized their problem. Yoon Subin had not just run cargo ships. He had been part of a network. a web of relationships and information that made trade possible across dangerous space. Now that web was broken, similar problems appeared all over Council space. The Kepler research station lost contact with 3 colony worlds when their communication relays failed. Human technicians had maintained those relays, making small repairs and adjustments that kept them working. Without those constant fixes, the relays broke down one by one. The Altarian Medical Center found that their patient recovery rates were dropping. Human doctors had not just treated patients. They had made tiny improvements to procedures. They had noticed patterns that the medical computers missed. They had instincts about healing that could not be programmed into machines. Veltar shipping. Companies discovered that their cargo costs were rising fast. Humans had operated shipping routes that barely made money. Routes that connected small colonies to major trade centers. Routes that other species thought were not worth running. But those small routes had been part of a bigger network. Without them, everything cost more to ship. Trade analyst Velkrix ran the numbers and felt sick. Shipping costs between rim worlds have gone up 300%, she reported to her supervisor. How is that possible? We still have the same ships, the same pilots, the same hyperspace lanes. Velkrix showed him the data. The humans ran connector routes, small cargo runs that lost money by themselves but made the whole network more efficient. No one else wanted to run those routes because they were not profitable. So why did the humans run them? Because they saw the big picture. They understood that losing money on 10 small routes could make 50 big routes more profitable. Her supervisor studied the charts. Can we start running those connector routes ourselves? We would lose money on every run, but if it makes the network more efficient, that only works if everyone cooperates. If every species runs some unprofitable routes for the good of the whole network, but most companies only care about their own profits. The supervisor sighed. And the humans just did this? Without being asked? Without being paid extra? Velkrix nodded. For 300 years. On the planet Xerion, the crop failure was total. The Rakashi farmers stared at fields of dead plants. Their primary food source was gone. The seeds were human-modified, explained agricultural scientist Rax9. Genetic changes that let them grow in our soil and climate. But we do not know how the modifications work. When the blight struck, we could not develop resistant varieties. What about the seed banks? Asked colony leader Drex Prime. We have the original seeds from before human contact. But those cannot grow on Xerion. Our soil is too acidic. Our seasons are too short. And the humans who developed these crops? Gone. All of them. They offered to leave research data, but genetic modification is not just data. It is intuition, experience, trial, and error over many years. Drex Prime looked at the dead fields. How long until we starve? If we start rationing now, maybe 8 months. If we can import food from other worlds. Can we? Rax9's answer was grim. Food imports cost 5 times more now. The human trade, fruits are gone. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Systems that had worked smoothly for centuries began to break down. Not all at once, not obviously. But gradually, like a machine slowly running out of oil. Council Representative Thex9 reviewed the reports in his private office. Power failures, communication breakdowns, food shortages, rising crime, economic problems. Each problem by itself was manageable, but together they painted a disturbing picture. His assistant, another Velkari named Kex7, brought him the latest trade reports. Galactic commerce is down 18% from last year, Kex7 said. That is within normal variation, Thex9 replied. Economic cycles happen. Yes, but this is different. The decline started exactly when the humans left, and it is getting worse each month, not better. Thex9 set down the reports. Are you suggesting that human exile is causing these problems? I am just presenting the data, sir. Thex9 looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the galaxy's edge, humans were building new homes, new lives, new civilizations. He wondered if they were having any problems. Probably not, he thought with growing unease. Humans were good at solving problems. Maybe too good. Maybe that had been the real problem all along. Supreme Counselor Rex Prime called an emergency session. The Great Chamber had not been this full since the day they voted to expel humanity. But now the mood was very different. 2 years had passed since the last human ship left Council space. 2 years of growing problems that no one had expected. Economic analyst Crex Vor stepped up to the central platform. The Corvani were creatures that looked like walking trees with many eyes. When they were nervous, their bark turned darker. Today, Crex Vor was almost black. The numbers are bad, Crex Vor began. Very bad. Galactic economic production is down 23%. Unemployment has risen on 47 worlds. 12 systems are requesting emergency aid. Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. These were not small problems anymore. Shipping costs have increased by an average of 230%, Crexvor continued. Food prices are up 60%. Energy costs have doubled in the Outer Rim territories. But how is this possible? Demanded Counselor Yex Alpha of the Centaurian Trade Federation. We have the same infrastructure, the same technology, the same resources. Crexvor's eyes turned to focus on the Centaurian representative. We have the same equipment, yes, but we lost the people who knew how to use it most efficiently. A new voice spoke from the military section. Military strategist Zarketh of the Veltar Defense Force was a warrior species that looked like armored bears. His deep voice carried easily through the chamber. The economic problems are not our only concern, Zarketh said. Piracy has increased 400%. Border disputes between member species have tripled. We have had 3 actual military conflicts in sectors that were peaceful for decades. What does this have to do with the humans? Asked Counselor Vex Prime. Zarketh activated a holographic display. It showed trade routes throughout the galaxy. Some routes glowed green for safe. Others showed yellow for dangerous. Too many were flashing red. Human merchants did more than just carry cargo, Zarketh explained. They formed an intelligence network. When pirates appeared in one system, human traders in that region would warn other ships. When tensions rose between species, human diplomats would quietly mediate. He highlighted several sectors on the map. These areas stayed peaceful because humans were always there, watching, listening, helping prevent small problems from becoming big ones. They were spying on us, accused Counselor Thex9. No, Zarketh replied firmly. They were keeping us safe. There is a difference. Dr. Vel, scientist of the Medical Consortium, spoke next. The Medical Consortium was made up of representatives from dozens of species, all working together on health issues. Dr. Vel, scientist, was a floating jellyfish-like being whose thoughts appeared as colors in their transparent body. The medical research situation is worse than anyone realized, Dr. Vel, scientist, said. Their body flashed deep blue for sadness. 17 major research projects have failed completely. 23 others are years behind schedule. Surely, alien scientists can continue human research, said Counselor Nex9 of the Altarian Empire. That is what we thought, Dr. Vel, scientist, replied. But human medical research was different. Humans had an intuitive understanding of biological systems that complemented our analytical methods. They could see patterns we missed. They could make connections between different types of research that seemed unrelated. The body flashed red for anger. The cure for Zephyrian wasting syndrome was 90% complete when the humans left. Now it is stalled indefinitely. Thousands of Zephyrians will die because we cannot finish what human doctors started. What about their research notes? Asked Vex Prime. We have all their data, every test result, every theory, every failed experiment. But data is not knowledge. Knowledge is not wisdom. The humans understood why their treatments worked, not just that they worked. Supreme Counselor Rex Prime had been listening quietly. Now he spoke, and his voice carried the weight of centuries. How did we not see this? He asked. How did we miss that humans had become so essential? The chamber fell, silent. It was a question no one wanted to answer. Finally, Counselor Yex Alpha spoke. They never told us. In 3 centuries of membership, humans never once mentioned how important their work had become. They just Did it? But surely our intelligence services noticed, Rex Prime said. Zarketh shook his massive head. Intelligence services look for threats, plots, secret weapons. They do not pay attention to routine maintenance and small improvements. The humans were not hiding anything. They were working in plain sight. But their work was so ordinary, so everyday that we stopped seeing it. Counselor Drex 8 of the Rakashi spoke for the first time. The Rakashi were reptilian beings with scales that changed color with emotion. Today, Drex 8's scales were the gray of shame. My people are starving, Drex 8 said quietly. Our crops have failed completely. We are importing food at prices we cannot afford. Our children go hungry while we debate politics. The humanitarian aid requests are being processed, Rex Prime assured him. Aid that cost 5 times more to ship than it did when humans ran the transport routes, Drex 8 replied. His scales flashed angry red. We asked the humans to leave, and now we cannot afford to feed our own people. Transport Coordinator Jex 5 stood up from the logistics section. The Corvanian was one of the galaxy's best experts on shipping and supply chains. The transport problem is worse than anyone understands, Jex 5 said. Humans operated 47 shipping routes that lost money, routes that connected remote colonies to major trade centers. Every company in the galaxy knew those routes were unprofitable. None of us wanted to run them. So why did the humans run them? Because they understood that the galaxy is a network. Losing money on small routes made big routes more profitable for everyone. It was like maintaining the roads that nobody uses but everybody needs. Jex 5 activated another holographic display. This one showed cargo flows throughout the galaxy. When the small routes disappeared, the big routes became congested. Shipping times increased. Costs went up. Some worlds became so expensive to reach that trade companies stopped going there entirely. Can we not simply start running those routes ourselves? We could, Jex 5 admitted, but it would require every major shipping company to accept losses on some routes for the benefit of the whole network. No company wants to do that if their competitors are not doing it too. And the humans just did this automatically? For 300 years, without being asked, without being paid extra. They saw the big picture and acted for the good of everyone. The chamber was quiet again. The implications were sinking in. Research Director Plex Prime of the Science Council spoke next. The Science Council oversaw research across hundreds of worlds and thousands of projects. Scientific collaboration has collapsed, Plex Prime said. Not just medical research, all research. Humans served as bridges between different species' way of thinking. They could translate Altarian logic concepts into Velkari emotional frameworks. They could help Zephyrian collective minds work with Corvani individual researchers. Surely scientists can work together without human help, said Thex 9. Some can, some cannot. Humans had a gift for understanding different types of intelligence. They helped species cooperate who could barely communicate before. Station Commander Rex 7 of the Outer Rim Defense Network had been quiet until now. Finally, he spoke. We are losing control of the Rim territories, he said bluntly. Communication blackouts, power failures, equipment breakdowns, 3 stations have gone completely dark. We do not even know if the crews are alive. Send repair ships, ordered Rex Prime. We have, but our engineers do not know how to fix human-designed systems. The repairs take 3 times longer and work half as well. Why did humans design our defense systems? They did not design them. They improved them. Little changes over decades. Modifications that made everything work better. Now the systems are so modified that only humans understood how they really worked. Rex 7's voice was grim. If the Outer Rim falls, we lose 30% of our territory and half our resources. Rex Prime looked around the chamber at faces filled with worry and regret. Representatives from species that had voted eagerly to expel humanity now looked sick with fear. How long do we have? He asked quietly. Krexvor answered. At current rates of decline, 2 years before economic collapse, 5 years before complete infrastructure failure. And if we could bring the humans back? The chamber erupted in desperate voices. We must contact them. Send ambassadors. Offer them better terms. Rex Prime raised his hand for silence. The question is not whether we should ask them to return. The question is whether they would listen. The great chamber fell silent once more. Nobody had an answer to that question. 3 years after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council finally swallowed their pride. Supreme Counselor Rex Prime personally selected the diplomatic mission. The best ambassadors from 5 different species. Ships loaded with gifts and trade offers. A formal apology written in beautiful language. They traveled beyond the galactic rim, into the dark space where no council ship had ever gone. What they found there made them stop and stare in amazement. Humanity had not just survived. They had thrived. New worlds sparkled with city lights. Space stations bigger than anything in council space processed raw materials and manufactured goods. Ships moved in organized patterns between dozens of systems. Even the empty space between stars hummed with activity. Defense platforms surrounded every world. Not aggressive weapons pointed outward, but sophisticated systems designed to protect what humanity had built. The Veltar military experts in the diplomatic mission recognized advanced technology when they saw it. Ambassador Klex 9 of the Centaurian Trade Federation tried to hide his shock. How did they build all this so quickly? 3 years is not quick, replied Ambassador Drex 12 of the Rakashi. But this represents centuries of knowledge and experience. They did not start from nothing. They started with everything they learned while working with us. The diplomatic fleet requested permission to approach the main human colony. The response came quickly, in perfect council standard language. Welcome, council representatives. You are granted safe passage to New Geneva Station. Please follow the navigation beacon and maintain your current speed. Any deviation from the approved route will result in escort by our defense fleet. The message was polite but firm, and there was something else. Confidence. The humans were not afraid of council ships anymore. New Geneva Station was impressive, larger than the council's main headquarters, cleaner, more efficiently designed. Thousands of ships docked at its ports. Most were human vessels, but there were also ships from species the council had never seen before. Who were they trading with? Asked Ambassador Vel Science. Everyone who wants to trade, replied their guide, a young human woman named Lim Su-jin. She had been waiting for them at the docking bay. Species from the other spiral arms, beings from the galactic core, even some civilizations from outside our galaxy entirely. Outside the galaxy? Vel Science was shocked. That is impossible. The distances are too great. Lim Su-jin smiled. Humans are good at solving transportation problems. She led them through the station's corridors. Everything was clean and well maintained. The air smelled fresh. The lights were bright but not harsh. Humans and aliens of unfamiliar species worked together at various tasks. You have made new allies, observed Ambassador Thex 12 of the Velkari. We have made new friends, Lim Su-jin corrected. The Andorians from the core worlds needed help with their energy problems. We shared our fusion technology. The Zerfians from the spiral arm had food shortages. We taught them improved farming methods. Now we all work together. They passed a large window that looked out into space. Beyond the station, massive construction. Projects were underway, new ships being built. Orbital factories producing goods. Huge solar collectors gathering energy from nearby stars. This is impressive, admitted Drex 12. Thank you, Lim Su-jin said simply. We have been busy. They finally reached the diplomatic quarters, a comfortable meeting room with a large table and chairs designed for different alien body types. Someone had taken care to make sure all the species would be comfortable here. Ambassador Park Jinwoo will meet with you shortly, Lim Su-jin said. Please make yourselves comfortable. Food and refreshments are available if you need them. After she left, the council ambassadors looked at each other nervously. They are being very polite, said Klex 9. Too polite, agreed Thex 12. I expected more hostility, more anger about what we did to them. Maybe they are not angry, suggested Vel Science. Maybe they are just Done with us. Ambassador Park Jin-woo entered a few minutes later. He was an older human man with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore simple clothes, not a fancy uniform, but there was something about him that commanded respect. "Welcome to New Geneva Station," he said warmly. "I hope your journey was comfortable. Would you like some refreshments before we begin?" The council ambassadors exchanged glances. This was not how they had expected the meeting to start. "We are fine, thank you," said Drex 12, who had been chosen as their spokesperson. "We have come here with a formal message from the Galactic Council. I would be happy to hear it," Park Jin-woo said. Drex 12 pulled out an elegant data pad. The message had been written and rewritten dozens of times. Every word had been carefully chosen. "The Galactic Council wishes to express regret for the misunderstanding that led to humanity's departure from Council space," Drex 12 read. "We now realize that human contributions to galactic civilization were more significant than we initially understood. The Council formally invites humanity to return and resume full membership. We are prepared to offer enhanced trading privileges, expanded research partnerships, and increased representation in Council affairs." Park Jin-woo listened patiently. When Drex 12 finished, he was quiet for a moment. "That is very kind," he said finally. "Please convey our thanks to the Council for their generous offer." "Then you accept?" Park Jin-woo shook his head gently. I'm afraid not." The silence in the room was complete. "May we ask why?" Vel Science asked carefully. Park Jin-woo leaned back in his chair. 3 years ago, the Council decided that humans were not suitable for galactic civilization, that we were too aggressive, too disruptive, too difficult to work with. You voted unanimously to expel us. "We realize now that we made a mistake," Thex 12 said quickly. "Did you?" Park Jin-woo asked. "Or did you simply discover that you needed us more than you thought?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. "What is the difference?" asked Klex 9. "If you made a mistake about our character, that could be corrected," Park Jin-woo explained. "We could find ways to work together better. But if you were right about our character and you only want us back because you need our skills, that is different. We want to work together as equals," Drex 12 insisted. "Do you?" Park Jin-woo pulled out his own data pad. "Your message mentions enhanced trading privileges and increased representation. You are offering us a better deal than we had before. But you are still talking about us joining your organization, following your rules, working within your system." He set the data pad on the table. "It has not occurred to you that we might have built something better." The Council ambassadors looked uncomfortable. They had come here expecting desperate humans eager to return to civilization. Instead, they had found a civilization that no longer needed them. "What would it take?" Vel Science asked quietly. "For humans to reconsider?" Park Jin-woo was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "Nothing," he said softly. "There is nothing you could offer that would make us want to return." "But the Council needs human expertise," pleaded Drex 12. "Systems are failing, economies are collapsing, people are dying." "That is unfortunate," Park Jin-woo said, and he sounded like he meant it. "We are sorry to hear that things are difficult, but they are not our responsibility anymore." "You would let billions suffer because of politics?" Park Jin-woo's expression hardened slightly. "We would let you face the consequences of your own choices, just as you made us face the consequences of ours." He stood up from the table. "However, we are not completely heartless. If the Council faces an existential crisis that threatens all life in the galaxy, we will help. Send a message and we will come. But for ordinary problems, for economic difficulties, for infrastructure failures, you are on your own." "This is our final answer?" "This is our only answer." Park Jin-woo walked toward the door, then paused. "We will give you one gift before you leave. A data package containing technical manuals, scientific research, and infrastructure designs. Everything we developed during our 3 centuries in the Council. Consider it a farewell present. Why would you give us this if you will not help us directly?" Park Jin-woo smiled sadly. Because we do not hate you. We never did. We simply learned that we work better without you. After the council ambassadors left, Lim Soo-jin found Park Jin-woo standing by the large window, looking out at the stars. You think they understand? She asked. Some of them do, Park Jin-woo replied. The smart ones realize what they lost. The proud ones still think this is temporary. That eventually we will come crawling back. And will we? Park Jin-woo shook his head. Never. We gave them 300 years of our best efforts. We helped them build their civilization. We made their world safer and more prosperous. And when they decided they did not want us anymore, we left quietly and with dignity. He turned away from the window. Now we build something new, something better, something that does not depend on the approval of beings who could not see our value until we were gone. Lim Soo-jin nodded. The children will ask about this someday, about why we left, about why we never went back. Tell them the truth. Park Jin-woo said. Tell them that sometimes walking away is the only way to win. Tell them that dignity is more important than forgiveness. And tell them that we built something wonderful in the darkness between the stars.